Okay, cool.
Okay, you have like a disclaimer about an use memo that you said is like a pre-optimization. So because you wanted to get it ready to be like a third-party library, and my question is what are you looking when you draw the line for your own work? Like this is a pre-optimization, or this is myself covering my back for the future. How do you know where to draw the line?
Well, first of all, optimization or pre-optimization is not covering bugs for the future, at least in my opinion. Okay, better. So when I did this part of code, the one that you are specifically mentioning, I did it thinking about library maintainer, not just for myself. So I stepped back from my role as developer and I sat as a consumer. And I said, okay, what I expect from this API when I will use it. I expect that it works like a native API, like as you state, as you reducer, and in this case, those APIs are providing memoized handler. So I want to simulate usually and replicate as much as possible the native experience from the library, React in this case, but with my own implementations. So in those cases, when you're providing code for others, it's not really pre-optimizing code, okay? But of course, you have to be careful. When you're working on your own code implementation, you have to measure it. You cannot just say, yeah, I will use memo, use callback, whatever, anywhere. You have to measure it. Because maybe in most of the cases, you're creating a deoptimization. Adding that extra code is more work. The engine needs to parse that use memo, that use callback. This is really specific, but okay. You have actually to parse all that code. And maybe you won't need it. I've seen many times errors where people were memoizing Boolean's value. That's actually way more code than recomputing each time. So in terms of pre-optimizing and deoptimizing, the line is really drawn depending on the case. So it depends. Depends on which API you're providing, how you're going to use it, if it's only for yourself or for your colleagues too. And the line actually moves because it's not only on the API that you are creating, okay, it's what it will do and which other APIs will depend on it. Another simple example is a use toggle custom hook and a use Boolean custom hook. They live together because the use Boolean is going to use behind the scene the use toggle. So I have also to think about this sort of relationship when I create a sort of API.
Sometimes I tend to like try to do too much, and it takes me like too much time. So I'm trying to figure out where I can find the balance between make it work and then make it pretty.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But that's first rule of thumb is always make it work, first of all. Then, of course, you rehearse your code and you check it out many times, not once, not two, many times. You will find always that there are possible optimization in time. So it's right what you said. Just make it work, even if it's ugly, if there are not best practices. Then there is always time to refactor it. You know that you're creating a technical debt maybe since the beginning, but it's fine. Just make it work. Whenever you make it work, then it's easier to refactor it because you have a line, a controlled version, and you know that whenever you're breaking it with your refactor, you can just jump back to the previous step. So there is not really a standard level to start with. Just take it easy, keep it simple, and then you can always refactor and iterate it.
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, my question basically is related to, I guess, with learning. You were talking a lot about, constantly learning, also like finding, I think something you had said was like finding maybe like, 10 minutes or something to learn each day.
Yeah.
And I guess it's something I think about a lot because there's a million things to learn and you have to prioritize which to spend your time on. And sometimes you come across something you don't know and maybe it's going to come up at some point, but it's also like not clear that you should get into that right now or you need to implement it as quickly as possible, and you don't have time to be an expert or to spend a week learning that. So I guess I was just curious, given time constraints and given prioritization, and in particular coming like out of a boot camp or something where you like need to apply yourself to jobs and you want to be able to show like, you know, actually demonstrate stuff you've learned and not just have this list of 10 minutes of this and this and this that I've learned. Maybe have you found there's any techniques or ways you apply your learning philosophy to showing something concrete and making it like the most sort of useful?
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned in the interview that you listened today, there is not a perfect process. Everyone should shape its own process based on habit, focus, personality, of course. This really depends on each one of us. What can really makes the difference, as you were asking, is how you really approach and prioritize the work you're doing. Let's make an example, okay? What I usually do, at least, is a process that I shaped automatically. I didn't start writing this on a notebook saying, okay, we'll do this, this, and this. Something that comes automatically to me is that when I start reading something that, first of all, interests me, so let's say I want to read more about React performance or JavaScript performance, right? You start reading, I don't know, a blog post, documentation, something. What happens when you face something like a word or a concept, let's say scope, hosting, that you don't know? You have two choices. First choice is you don't understand it, you skip and you go on, okay? And you start trying to understand what's the generic topic about performance or whatever you're learning to. Second option, which is the one that I prefer usually, is okay, let's pause it. That's like a push on our call stack. I will pause the topic I'm learning now because I cannot really understand it if I don't know what is it talking about. And I add to my queue of things that I want to learn this new specific topic, like scope, as I was saying. I'm just queuing it. I'm planning I'm going to learn it, okay? So I don't have specifically to start going deeper on that specific part that is required for this topic, but I have to think about it. So I start actually queuing in my list of things that I want to learn just based on interest or as a consequence of my interest, things that I need to learn. And of course, since you want to understand new topics or interest, you have to go deeper and deeper and deeper until you reach a level where each topic chained bring you to something that is at really low level in terms of understanding. And that's actually when you're learning how it works. That's actually the essential pieces for you to really understand what you're doing in terms of code, to picture in your mind how this really works. As I mentioned yesterday in the interview, you cannot start running fast if you're not able to work. And that's essential because it's the same. You cannot understand advanced topics if you're missing the basics. So to learn the basics, that's the point. Having a process where whenever you see something that you don't understand, you've never seen, you cannot just skip it. It's something that I never do. Just take some other time, and even at a high level or in deep, of course, in that, try to understand also that part because it's going to be essential for understanding the bigger concept. That's something that it's quite important, especially in our job, because it's important to really understand what's happening in the scene. You cannot understand how UState work, React, or anything else in JavaScript, the scope, if you don't understand what's happening in the scene. How UState, for example, has been implemented. Where is it storing those data? And to understand where is storing those data, you need to understand what is a closure. And this brings you down to understand better closures, and so on and so on. So it's always ask you more questions. That's the perfect process. Every time you're learning something, you will ask yourself more questions, and that's the essential step, actually, to really learn.
Do you have some practical examples of how you would do like a 10-minute study or like a short-term study session?
And let's look at something that interests me. The beginning was cool. I need basic knowledge. Let's check at the MDM documentation, looking for an API of the browser I've never seen. That was my daily learning. Then I switched to something that interested me the most. So like second architecture, DDD, stuff like this. But of course, there are topics that require much more time. So you have to sort of vertical split the topic you're going to learn. And that's in the end up to you, because if you're really interested in that, you realize that you will allocate 15 minutes. You realize, oh, I'm 45 minutes late because I spent more than 1 hour looking at this thing that interests me. But that's fine. It's still good even for your job, because it's something that you will bring, is a value that you will bring at your job. So 15 minutes in the morning, after lunch, before lunch, whenever you feel is the best time for you. And that's not the minimum amount of time I will dedicate it. 5 minutes, 1 minute. I also said that 30 seconds reading a post that scrolling on LinkedIn you see, like those pictures that are showing 4 lines of code and explain spread operator, deconstructing something, that's still learning. Even if you have already seen that part thousands of times. As I mentioned, reviewing this part really stick it in memory. You really observe the concept. So don't skip them when you're scrolling on your feed. Just read them. And also those 30 seconds of time, it's worth it. Because it keeps your mind actually practicing each day and helps you to create a consistent habit. That's how I will do it. I usually do it. But of course, that's the difficult part, creating the habit.
Applying this same, I think that do you have any suggestion on how to study in the bootcamp?
How to study in the bootcamp?
Yeah, and not only, maybe even divide the junior part and the senior part. So when you're like on the junior part, how are you when you're in that much pressure that exercises keep coming, and you haven't absorbed everything? Is there any suggestion that you in that matter?
Well, back in time, when I was doing the junior part as a student, I was completely overwhelmed. There is no way at the time I could have recommended a way, actually, to say, oh, you could study this way during the junior part. It's overwhelming. I experienced this. I was sitting there as you guys. And it's really, really difficult to find a time to say, okay, I want to go deeper on this topic and learn more. It's really difficult. I know you just want to go home and sleep, nothing else. And here I see your faces that feel the same way. So what you're already doing is one of the best way to learn in the beginning, because you're practicing consistently for 10 hours a day. Okay? That's the best thing you can do. This brings us back to what I was saying before. When you're practicing, especially new things that you've never seen, there is something that you should do each day, if possible, which is rehearse what you did the day before. Retaining information at this pace, it's really difficult. I'm going to be honest, when I finished the junior part and I joined the senior part, more than the half of the things I learned in the junior part were gone completely. I had no clue about them. That's why after the bootcamp in time, I learned that reviewing each day something, reading all those things that I feel like, I know it, but you don't really know them, just review it again. Doesn't matter. So probably back in time, something that I will do is I'm done with the sprint about advanced JavaScript or core concepts. Cool, that's useful. Now I move to React, which is way more interesting. You see fancy stuff on the screen, but take a break, maybe, I don't know, those 20 minutes, 15 minutes a day, and go and review what is hoisting, what is, I don't know, scope, all those concepts, because you're going to definitely need them to understand what you're doing with React. Check back what's the difference between a function declaration and a function expression. All those small details that will help you to understand better what you're doing with the final tool, in this case, React or any library. And this will give you especially an hint on how to shape your code in a more readable way, first of all, in a more practical way, because it's something that you will have to iterate again, as we said before. So just to review them. Don't skip everything saying, okay, I finished this sprint, it was really painful, I'm done with that stuff. Go on. I would probably recommend to myself back in 5 years, bro, check it again, because you're missing many, many parts. And I can definitely assure you that whenever you finish the bootcamp, there is a series of 6 books that tells you you don't know JavaScript. Believe it. I felt like, I know everything. I left the bootcamp, I'm a senior developer after 3 months of bootcamp. You read a book and you realize you know really nothing. Okay, that's why I say, just rehearse all that stuff. Expand also your knowledge on the basics, because it's the most useful thing in the long term.
Hello?
Yes?
Okay. Do you think the best way to get in this industry is doing a bootcamp?
This is a really, really interesting question. You're gonna mute me? Okay, let's give a bit of context on this. I studied software engineering in Italy. I have a bachelor degree, and I've been interested in this since I was 13 years old. Okay, so I've been in coding, nerding a little bit for the past 17 years now. This gives, of course, a great advantage when you're learning this at a professional level. But there are really big differences in how you learn it and how you practice. For example, I'm going to be honest, in my 3 years computer science degree, which lasted 5 because I enjoyed it a lot, as I said, I learned a lot of concepts which I was not able to retain because they were not taught in the right way. Okay, that's why after university I moved to Barcelona to attend the bootcamp, and they said, okay, I'm going to be surrounded by people that are just going to talk about this 12 hours a day, and that's the best place for me to just practice, because it's that the main difference. If I'm not wrong, something that I was mentioning with my colleagues at the bootcamp is that in the first week, I coded more than in the past 3 years of university. That's a matter of practice. So coming to your question, there is not like a specific path to enter this industry better than others. It really depends on you. But the advantage that I'd say a bootcamp can give you against other practices, other path of studies, is that you're really immersed in this. You're doing just this for 3-6 months of your life, and that's your main focus. If you're able to channel 100% of yourself in this, it's probably, at least always in my opinion, one of the best way to enter the industry, because you will realize doing interviews or joining a company later on and working with your colleagues that you will probably know more than your colleagues that did a computer science degree, probably. Maybe they will know something more than you, but more based on theory that in the end you won't use in your daily job. So I definitely don't regret doing a bootcamp, even after doing 3 years of software engineering in Italy. It's something that I will do again, because was that additional step that you need to actually enter the industry knowing what you're doing. I've seen many people actually quite recently, a comparison, a person that had a computer science degree against a person that did the bootcamp. They were doing the same process, the same application process for a startup. Guess who they hired? The person from the bootcamp, definitely. Just because the other one, which had great knowledge in theory, didn't know how to work on a company, on a startup. It's not just about coding. It's also learning practices, how to work in team, sprint planning, agile, all that stuff that a bootcamp probably will teach you better than other courses. And that's something that companies value, because something that in the daily basis is what they do. So having all these insights from a bootcamp, even if compressed in 3 months, if you're able to retain them and, of course, rehearse them in time, that will be your advantage against all the other people. I'd say you're in the right place, guys. So the question is all about, there are many opinions in this industry about specializing on a single programming language or learning others. And so the question is also about when we should actually, as programmers, as software engineers, focus also on other programming languages because it's the right moment to learn them and they will be the most useful. Is this the question, right? Cool. So my opinion about this is that, as always, it depends on what you're doing in your job, what you like, okay? And at least in my experience, in what I learned, I've been working with different programming languages. I've been working with C, Java, JavaScript, and now I'm learning a new one because I like it, not because I need it, but because maybe in future it will be useful, especially based on how the industry is evolving. In my particular case, as I mentioned, I've been working with many of these languages. I'd say that I'm specialized mostly in JavaScript and TypeScript because for the past 4 years, my focus has been 70% front-end development and 30% back-end development. So makes sense that I know better this language. But now, for example, looking at the trend, I'm at a level where I really specialized a lot on JavaScript. I learned many quirks. I read a lot of books, and I feel like I'm confident with that. I'm not going to say that I don't need to learn it more because there are definitely a lot of stuff that I don't know about JavaScript. But there is also this need, at least the need I have, to learn something new from scratch to not get bored. So also to align with something that I like and something that the industry requires, I started learning a bit of Go, and now I'm on Rust. Not going deep. I'm not really going to be specialized on Rust or Go. Go for us at my company is required to work on integrations. It's something maybe I will never work on. But since I read some of that code and I had to actually make, for example, code reviews, I said, okay, let's dedicate some time on this. Looks interesting. So let's learn about it. It's not what I believe will be useful for me in the long term. I prefer to study Rust, for example. I see a good trend from front-end developers and JavaScript engineers learning Rust right now. It looks cool. I like it. So I started learning that. Now, regarding the point of, is better to be specialized? Is better to learn many languages and be a polyglot? I personally believe that to really scale on your career, you need to really well understand not only a specific language, but all the core concepts behind this. Because most of them, in the end, will be applied also in learning other programming languages. Okay? This is cool. So I'd say specialize in a language. It's something you should do. Because learning this in depth, you will understand many other concepts that will be useful to learn other programming languages. And then, when you are done with that, it takes years. It's not an easy path. It takes a long time, but of course it will pay off. And then in terms of learning other programming languages, do it. First of all, because it will open many more doors to your career. You have seen how is the industry evolving right now. There are layoffs, trending. You need to be prepared for that. And so learning other programming languages will open many doors to you. You don't have to do it now. You're now specializing on something. You're learning the basics. So focus on those. Don't focus on, let's start immediately with other 2 programming languages. You won't probably need them right now at this point of your career, and will just create a huge mess in your head. So focus on one programming language first. Focus on programming concepts which are not related to programming language. And then when you feel ready in a year, 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, pick something new that interests you, a programming language, and this will increase your range of skills, of hard skills, will help you grow in your career as better software engineer. You will be more appealing as software engineers also for company. And this brings us back to my main point. It will help you to not get bored on what you're doing. Learning a programming language, a new one, cool, a new challenge. That's something that, at least in my case, is one of the main reasons I do it. I work all day long with TypeScript. I like what I do. I still like what I do, so it's cool. But I need that step, something that still stimulates my curiosity, my learning experience. So cool, let's pick this new programming language. Let's start learning this. Not like involved in a matter of, I need to do this because it's going to be my next job. I'm going to do it because it has really cool concepts. They're interesting, so let's take a deep dive on it. And if it will be useful in future, cool. Otherwise, I just shape my mind again to understand the other concept from a different perspective. Because in the end, it's based on programming. Programming has some base core concept that you will use and apply on each programming language you will learn. So it's just whenever you feel you're getting bored, you want to learn something new, you feel like you really understand the core of your specialist programming language, move to a new one. And that's up to you. You want to learn mobile development, pick Kotlin, Swift. You want to learn backend, there are tons of languages. Don't pick PHP, maybe. Nah, just kidding. So it's really based on what interests you. I had the chance to pick Rust, Go, PHP, all of this. I went for Rust because I like it. I like the model that it has behind it, the trend. So that was my choice.
So my question goes like on a little bit, it's kind of a futuristic question. So how do you see the industry changing because of all these AI things appearing, Copilot, who is able to guide you through development and everything? What's your take on all that? What is your point of view?
Cool. That's an interesting question, especially in this specific time in the history, especially for software engineers and programmers, because with all these new AIs, the main question is, are they going to take our job? My straightforward answer is nope. They're not going to take our jobs. Not now, probably not in the future. But their main purpose is not to take our job, is to help us do our job. To use these tools correctly, of course, they can do many things that we are not able to do in the beginning, like create a small algorithm or the right code snippet immediately, something that maybe will take more time for us to do. But still, that's not an issue. It's fine. They're going to help us. In terms of using these tools, like Copilot, ChatGPT, all of them, I say that they're fine, but they're not really the first starting point in your career. You cannot delegate immediately when you're still learning how a programming language works, how practices works. You cannot delegate this job to an AI. It will do it, of course. But this will not allow to shape your mind in a way that you can keep learning in the long term. I will say that at first, I will spend my time more than learning how this tool works, learning how to learn by myself, learning a programming language, more programming language, a new library, how actually to retain all these informations, creating consistent habits. Then when you're experienced, it's fine. These tools are there to help you, actually, to speed up your daily routine. And that's perfect, it's fine. They're great at helping you writing documentations, but because you've wrote documentation before, you know what are the requirements that those documentation have. You know which code snippet is going to implement. It will do it faster for you, but they're just doing what you would have done alone without the help of these AIs because you did it in the past. That's what helps you to be a complete software engineer, because you learned it by yourself, and then you're just delegating. It's like being promoted to a manager. You're not doing the hard work, the coding work. You did it in the past. You are delegating, and you are allocating the work because you know how to do it, and you know what's the best person, the best profile to do a specific job. It's the same with AI. You learn it by yourself in your career. Then, to speed up, go faster, you delegate to these AIs, creation of content, small snippets, examples. It's awesome for me to ask, hey, ChatGPT, write please 10 examples using the reduce method, the array reduce method. I know by heart how it works. Writing 10 of them, thinking about, okay, an example using this or this stuff, it's time consuming. Just delegate it. It can do it well for you. But first, you have to learn by heart how the reduce method works. That's the step you have to take. So they are helpful, but I would still recommend in the beginning to take this step in your career alone and rely on them when you feel really prepared.
My question was, I think you mentioned how you find, because you're always trying to learn, that kind of a sign for you when it's time to move on from somewhere is when you realize you kind of know everything and you're not really surrounded by people who know more than you, get a job or something. But something that occurred to me at various times in my previous careers and stuff is that teaching people can also be a way to learn. So I was kind of curious, do you find that being a part of the process for you? And do you find that if you reach a point where you kind of know a lot about something and you have someone less experienced, like a colleague who's asking you questions and you're teaching them and you learn something new, do you reach a point where you kind of sense, okay, I've learned enough about that and therefore this is how I know it's kind of time to move on? Or how do you really quantify when you find you're only teaching, or how do you really figure out when is the right moment to say this is enough of a mentor role that I'm playing?
Two things. First of all, if you are lucky enough in your career to have the chance to mentor or teach someone else, just do it. It's probably the best way to learn something, especially in depth, to really discover all those quirks that there are behind the specific things that you learned. So if you have the chance to just do it. And second part, the word enough. When is enough for you to consider you're done with this, you are well prepared enough to not study this anymore? I don't think there isn't enough, honestly, at least in my opinion, of course. There is a certain level where you've learned so much about something that it's really difficult to find something new. But I was speaking with Arol about this, and I learned something new about a new API just 3-4 days ago. So there is not, again, enough. There are people like Kyle Simpson, which are in the field 20 years, specializing on one specific language, that are still discovering stuff. So this enough, it's up to you. There is a moment where you feel like, cool, I know a lot about that. And that's good because it gives you confidence. It helps you to make your job better. But there is also the trade-off that will come a moment when you will realize you don't know everything, and you will say, cool, I still maybe need to go deeper in this. Mentoring is one of the best ways to fast proceed on this process, to go deeper, learns all the different aspects. Because I'm pretty sure that even working on code 17 years, on professional level 5 years, and having mentored many students, I'm pretty sure that one of you here can make me a question on a different ways that will bring me to an answer that I never formulated. Thinking about, oh, cool, I've never seen this aspect of the topic, the coding, whatever it is, under this perspective. Pretty sure you are 10, 11 people. There is definitely a question that will make my mind think about an answer, and I've never think about this in that way. So, best way to learn teaching, at least my opinion. I did it in the past. I'm currently doing it. Just past year, I had the chance to do corporate training and was a really insightful experience. And especially, that's of course my recommendation, never think about is enough. This helps you to be hungry, keep your curiosity alive. And that's one of the best things to become a great software engineer. Otherwise, if you feel like I can sit, you will see many people proceed in front of you, and you will be still there sitting. Just keep your curiosity alive. Never think is enough. You realize that you were right, that is never going to be enough. But of course, at a certain level, you will still know that, okay, there are many things that I can still learn, but I feel confident I have something to teach, that I've learned enough, and here you can use that word, that I'm able to teach to others many things. And that's something that the industry out there appreciate more than many other aspects. People that are able to communicate, to pass value, to actually mentor other engineers. That's a plus compared to your colleagues. So if you have the chance, try to work on it. Do mentorship. There are a lot of programs that allow you to teach, actually. It's just for you rehearsing things that you already know, but it's going to be definitely the most useful thing you will do.
So that is a question that I was going to do later. But given your experience, you passed on like through a bootcamp, and then now after you actually taught on a bootcamp.
Yes.
You were promoted on a bootcamp, and then you went to the industry, and then you passed many job positions. After all this perspective, and with the model, like the regular model of a bootcamp, what would you change?
Wow.
It can be big or it can be small. It can be whatever you want, whatever you have thought about.
Cool. What you just asked is correct. I've been passing from academic to startups to corporate and enterprise companies. So I've been working on different contexts. What can a bootcamp improve in terms of preparing you for this future? Well, I say that 90% of what a bootcamp does, which is learning you how to learn faster than other study methods, is already the best thing you can do. An improvement I will recommend probably is a bootcamp should always be updated and consistently check out what is the trend in the industry to prepare the students for what is there outside. Doesn't really make sense, honestly, to keep looking at in priority concepts that are not anymore requirement in the industry. Looking at a library that was used 5-6 years ago is not anymore a requirement for me. If you're curious, check it out. Cool, that's going to be definitely useful. But if you have the chance to spend more of this time on something that the industry requires now, it's better because you will start looking for a job when you end the bootcamp. And if you're able to cover 7, 8 out of the most trend requirements in the industry, you will be advantaged. So something that probably I would recommend to Bootcamp is not to stick to a static curriculum, but keep it updated with trends, new libraries, introducing new lectures every 2-3 months. That's probably something that is, first of all, engaging for the students, because they're able to see that, okay, it's not a program, old, static, something that evolves, that is going to teach me what I really need, okay? And especially something that, for example, back in time I missed, and I hope that now changed in the bootcamps that are in the world, is that we were not really prepared on how really a company works. So different perspective, teamwork, project management, and this doesn't mean that I have to be a project manager, but I need to understand what are the steps behind the definition and implementation of a project. It's not just, okay, sit there and start coding randomly. There are processes before. So having something that introduced me to this world also allow me to communicate better with the people that are interviewing me for a job position, first, and secondly, to do better my job, to integrate faster with the team I'm going to work with. And this is something I lacked in the beginning because I had not really a good experience in that. So I had to learn it by myself, learn practices, how a team work, what are responsibilities, how to communicate everything. It's something that I feel it's really important to dedicate time now because it will be the extra step that will allow you to actually join a company. I have a question for you all. It's an easy one. Come on, it's an easy one. No, that's an easy one. The question is, now that you're sitting there doing a bootcamp, what is the things that you believe is the most valuable for you right now? You're doing the bootcamp, you're at the junior part, senior part, right? There is something that you probably believe is giving you the most value out of it, right? What it is? We have an answer. Bo.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. For me, I think the most important thing that would change my life is the people I meet and the site I'm in now. So I think it's so, as you said, also it's so important to be like a round of people that is so smarter than you and that know a lot of things of coding, for example. But it's not only for this stuff or for only coding. It's like no, I don't know how to say it, but I like to meet all of these people.
I got it, don't worry. Any other answer?
The structure that you get, and then having the people there with you, so you feel like, kind of like you mentioned earlier, context switching being a technique to change focus on something, maybe to help you get unstuck. I think having a group of people to do it with is making a big difference for me, to make it more efficient and make it so that I don't just, watch something to distract myself, but actually it's like switching context with a purpose, completely learning something new in the meantime, and then also having people who have other ideas and knowledge that they can share to make that extra useful. It's almost like a group of teachers alongside me, because everyone has something they've been teaching me.
Cool. Anyone else?
I don't know if how many of my classmates actually tried it as well, but I kind of tried to learn by myself before coming to the bootcamp. And one of the most valuable things that I see here is that it's a trustable source of knowledge, because learning for yourself, a lot of people do like videos, tutorials, roadmaps, and later they don't maintain it, or they are not even like the best practices, or they are not even good, so to speak. They are like as amateur as you can be at the beginning. So, and when you are like starting for real, like from zero, you are blind into that world. So you will believe like any YouTube video, any web platform that you find. So that's very valuable for me. It's an actual trustable source of knowledge that gets updated all the time. And when you find a blogger or a problem, you actually have a person instead of a web article to find the solution or try to search the solution. And I think that after the bootcamp is that when I feel that I can actually go online and start learning by myself.
Cool, perfect. Anyone else? Okay, cool. Well, actually believe you, 100% of you, probably other people didn't speak, but you got the real point of the bootcamp, at least in my opinion, which is people. Because as you just mentioned, going up there reading articles from a blog or watching a tutorial, that's a good source, of course. But having 10, 11, 12 other brains around you that are just thinking about the same problem, first of all, not only helps you to achieve the solution, but it will also give you 10 different perspectives, 10 different ways of explaining the solution. And that's one of the most valuable insights. Just think about sitting around the table for a coffee, 15 minutes, talking about a solution, compared to reading 10, 15 minutes blog post about the same topic. Just compare the amount of time you dedicate to one thing compared to the other. And especially we're human. We are made for interactions. So speaking with someone, it's way more insightful and will help you definitely to retain more information than just reading something. We lose focus reading stuff or watching a course. We have a focus span of 9-10 minutes. But speaking with people, that focus span increases a lot. That's why people around you in a bootcamp, especially people just thinking as you at the same thing, is the best resource you will have for this period of your life. So please use it, enjoy it. Don't stick to, I'm going to work on myself. I've seen students in the past focusing just on, I want to implement this by myself and, other people out of here. Please, that's the best resource you have here, so use it as much as you can. Even in front of a beer after the bootcamp. Not talking about coding anymore, just networking, socializing. That's something that also helps you to get out of the bootcamp for a second and still remember that you're people, okay? Not just machine focused on this. So pick a beer. Where is mine?
Okay, so cool. No more questions, no? Cool, so... okay, we both can stand. Sorry, there's one mic. So, okay, thank you very much, everybody, for the questions and for the engaging the event and all the. I think that was very inspiring, and I think that the amount of insights that Marco can bring are for sure going to be very helpful. And we are not finished yet because the podcast yesterday went finished in a high point. So we'll see what we do in the future. But it was absolutely amazing to have you here, Marco. You know that. So yeah, thank you. I want to say from everybody and thank you very much. And we're waiting for you to come back anytime. So thank you very much.
Cool.